Hi, Rotarians. My name is Stein, and I'm a park ranger with the National Park Service. And I am delighted to be able to share a new program called Operation Pollination with you. By the summer of 2019, 25 national heritage areas and 600 local partners around the nation will be actively engaged in Operation Pollination. And this is their story. So what is a national heritage area? National heritage areas are these large lived-in landscapes that are not your traditional national park. The federal government does not own or manage land in national heritage areas, but they have important nationally significant stories to share, and they're generally run by a not-for-profit organization. And lands within a national heritage area are generally private lands. In 2016, the National Park Service put out some guidance, and this guidance shared the 4 pillars to guide natural resource activities and investments. And as you can see, number 3, leveraging for conservation at scale, that is what I would like to talk with you today about. What is leveraging for conservation at scale? Number 1, it's critical for the protection of natural resources within the boundaries of national parks. It requires working successfully beyond the boundaries with an array of partners. It necessitates encouraging collaborative communities of people and ideals, and it requires partnerships across governmental, public-private, and international boundaries. It's also known as collaborative landscape conservation or large landscape conservation. So given this natural resource guidance that the National Park Service received from our specialists, Operation Pollination was conceived. And the goal of Operation Pollination is pretty simple. It's to protect pollinators throughout the United States. And to protect pollinators, the best way to do that is to protect the habitat that they rely on. Please help us. So these are the pollinators. Many are familiar to you. Bees, wasps, flies, butterflies, beetles, moths. Even male mosquitoes, by the way, are pollinators. It's only the females that suck blood to give their unborn young a blood meal. There's bats that are pollinators, some rodents are pollinators, even there's some reptiles that are pollinators. I love this quote from Marcel Proust, and it really is, it sums up nicely what this program is all about. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. And by the time that I'm done with this program today, I hope that you have some new eyes. But with those eyes, we don't want to see this. This was a Whole Foods supermarket setup where they removed 30% of the produce from the produce section, and this is what our stores would look like if there weren't any pollinators. 1/3 of every bite we eat is thanks to insect pollinators. So this is a National Heritage Area initiative, and in 2019, I am encouraging national heritage areas around the nation to have these new eyes and engage in Operation Pollination. Because if these national heritage areas all join forces, we can encourage them to work on a national conservation priority, and all ships will rise. This project began in the St. Croix Valley of Minnesota and Wisconsin, much of the area covered by District 5960. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the National Park Service, and the U.S. Forest Service got together and decided that we like working with each other. And when we decided we'd work on a project that was of mutual concern, like pollinators, we'd put out a resolution. And so in the proposed North Woods and Waters of the St. Croix Heritage Area, which is the 8,000 square mile watershed of the St. Croix Valley, this is where Operation Pollination was conceived. In 2015, we actually had a kickoff at Anderson Corporation in Bayport, Minnesota, Congresswoman Betty McCollum from Minnesota was there to help us kick off the event. We had representatives from the 3 federal agencies, Fish and Wildlife, Forest Service, and National Park Service, as well as hundreds of people in attendance. When we kicked this off, the St. Croix Valley Pollinator Partnership, which is part of Operation Pollination, we had over 70 organizations that had signed. Some big organizations like Xcel Energy or Anderson Corporation, and some smaller ones like Yoga by Julie or the Osceola Braves Little League baseball team. 70 organizations had signed up by the time we announced our resolution in August of 2015. We focus on the monarch butterfly because the monarch butterfly, as most of you know, has been in steep decline since the 1990s. In fact, 90% of the population has disappeared since the 1990s. And if you look at the Midwest region of the National Park Service, which is the white line drawn on this map of the United States, orange is the hot zone for monarch migration. You could see why we would focus on the monarch butterfly. So I was in New England earlier in the year and I took this pretty picture of fall foliage up in New England. Looks like the color of monarchs. Or maybe it isn't fall foliage. It's not. Those are monarchs in those trees. Look at that again. Isn't that incredible to see those butterflies covering those trees like that? The life cycle of the monarch brings them down to a mountaintop, a couple of mountaintops in Mexico, where they spend the winter months before migrating back north to begin the cycle all over again. I'd say we go on a field trip. So the monarchs are measured in hectares on those trees. I think a hectare is around 2.5 acres, if I'm remembering my earlier days in education. But these are the number of hectares that have declined over the years. This year, however, I'm told that the hectares are back up around 5 or 6, so that's really good. But still there, over time, it's been a steady decrease of the monarchs. So what can National Heritage Areas do to protect and participate in Operation Pollination? Number one, they draft their own pollinator resolution. They get local partners to sign a pledge. They put their pledge partner names on the back of the resolution, and they get widespread media attention. This is just to show you what a resolution looks like. This is what a pledge would look like. And once those pledges are signed, you put your pledge signers' names on the back of your resolution. Now you can do this, by the way, as a Rotary Club too, or you can do it as the district. In fact, Marlene Gargalack, when she was district governor a couple of years ago, she did do this. So many of the clubs are already signed up. It's that simple, really. A pollinator partnership is a pollinator resolution. You get partners to sign a pledge, you put their names on the back of the resolution, and voila. You obtain widespread media attention, and you're well on your way to helping protect pollinators and their habitat. In 2018, 3 Midwest Region National Heritage Areas joined Operation Pollination by signing pollinator resolutions. Those 3 areas are Motor Cities National Heritage Area, Northern Plains National Heritage Area in North Dakota, and Abraham Lincoln National Heritage Area in Illinois. Motor Cities is around Detroit, Michigan, by the way. And these are some things that their executive directors said. In Motor Cities, they had a nice event, a celebration. They even brought out this guy called, I call him the zookeeper. But those bars, by the way, they're not there to keep the bees in. They're there to keep the people out. This is Detroit, remember. So different organizations, they did different activities to teach children and adults about pollinators. And by the time the year was up, Motor Cities had signed up these organizations. I'm sorry if that slide looks a little bit out of whack. It looks out of whack on my screen, but maybe on your screen it's not. The Northern Plains National Heritage Area around a free-flowing stretch of the Missouri River around Bismarck, North Dakota. Beautiful, beautiful landscape. They signed up these organizations in 2018, ranging from a brewery to a nursery to a bank to an electric company. And even down in the Abraham Lincoln National Heritage Area, the executive director down there was able to twist Abe's arm and get them to sign a pollinator resolution. And these are the organizations that signed at Abraham Lincoln National Heritage Area. So what are some of the things that these organizations did? I'm going to go through this rather quickly, but if you can just take a moment to read some of the things that these organizations did, that's great. And then this as well. And the one I'm really impressed with is that one on the bottom there. We are committed to maintaining 6,700 acres of strip mine land as pollinator habitat. Mind you, the butterflies, the bees, the beetles, whatever, they don't care what the land looks like as long as it is growing the vegetation that it needs to thrive and survive. Protecting pollinators is a big tent. I want you to know this. There's no one person, no one organization in charge. Please consider jumping onto the pollinator bandwagon. In fact, Rotary, as I mentioned, did get on a couple of years ago, and I've assembled a Rotary team. I'll show you their photos in just a minute. But District 5960 is already on board and wants to connect Rotarians in the 3 countries, Mexico, United States, and Canada, on working on small-scale pollinator projects. So here's the team. Whoop. Let me go back here 1 minute. I'll show you the team in a minute. So these small-scale projects that Rotarians can work on are like outside people's homes or in a community garden. There's the team. Most of you know former district governors Craig, Judy, and Marlene, and they're very enthusiastic about connecting Rotarians not only throughout District 5960 but throughout the Midwest and in other areas of the country and in other countries, Canada and Mexico. Here's how it works. You all know that Rotary is the world's largest service organization, 1.2 million members worldwide. Rotary is divided into zones. Those zones are divided into districts, and there are about 535 districts around the world. Each district, as you know, reports to a district governor, and districts are comprised of Rotary clubs like your own. Club membership varies greatly in each club, but each district generally has about 3,000 Rotarians. So this is how it works with 2 of our National Heritage Areas connecting Rotarians. That circle around 6460 and 6490, that's Central Illinois, that's Abraham Lincoln National Heritage Area. And that other circle around 6080 and 6110, that's the Freedom's Frontier National Heritage Area in Missouri and Kansas. And remember, in each one of those districts, there's about 3,000 Rotarians who are looking for worthwhile community service projects. Well, protecting pollinators, which is protecting our food supply and our national security, is a very worthwhile project for Rotarians to get involved in. In 2019 and beyond, we'll have 20 more National Heritage Areas joining the cause. I won't go through all these names, but they are around the country from Niagara Falls up to the Boston area, down to the Blue Ridge Parkway in Florida, across Mississippi, Colorado, northern New Mexico, and up into Alaska, including 7 of the 8 National Heritage Areas in the Midwest region. And the goal by 2023 is to have all 55 National Heritage Areas in the USA on board with Operation Pollination. And when they do come on board in 2019, we'll probably have about 600 local partners. These are the 20 new areas. They'll probably bring about 600 local partners with them engaged in pollinator effort. And I would say that probably by 2023, when all 55 National Heritage Areas are on board, we'll probably have more than 1,000 or 2,000 partners actively engaged in pollinator habitat restoration work. So in closing, I just want to thank the 3 Midwest Region National Heritage Area leaders, Sarah Watson, Sean Palmerville-Size, and Aaron Barth, who with their staff took that first step and got involved in Operation Pollination in 2018. Remember, the end goal is pollinators equals food security equals national security. I'm actually going to approach Homeland Security soon to ask them if they want to be involved in this. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. So I hope with this presentation, I hope that I've, with these slides, have opened up some of your eyes about how important your neighborhood is, your home, your village center, to our pollinators. Pollinators are disappearing worldwide, and we need to jump on this cause and do something about it. You can do it as individuals in your home by planting milkweed or or nectar-bearing plants, so these pollinators have something to eat as they travel to and fro. Or you can do it as a club or a district and get involved in bigger projects like community projects. In Wisconsin, we even got involved in a big project where we applied for some money and we restored 1,000 acres of pollinator habitat. You don't have to do that. Even just planting a milkweed seed is enough. But please do think about getting involved and knowing your place better for the first time. So I thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak with you today. And if any of you are really interested in pursuing this more, please contact me by email or give me a phone call. And maybe we can find a place to go talk about this over a Monarch beer. Thank you very much.